We recently went through the process of our oldest homeschooled child receiving her driver's license in Virginia, and it was sort of a hard process to figure out, so I am going to give you a video with all my insider tips that they don't tell you at the DMV. Ready? The first thing your child has to do is get a permit. Now, this is the same for everybody, so I don't want to spend too much time on that, but they can study the Virginia Driver's Manual, which you can print out from online, or they can just read it online, and they can take online practice tests. You can Google online practice tests for that. When you go into the DMV, there is a fee involved here at the permit stage. There's going to be, I believe it's around $15. Okay, once your child has a permit, which will come in the mail, they can start driving practice with you, the parent. The child needs to do 45 hours of driving practice. Now, we started our driving practice before our child finished the driver's ed class. Just make sure that you keep a log of it, and the log must include the mileage. I just thought 45 hours, let's just record the hours, and I didn't know that there was going to be a place to record total mileage when you get to the DMV to get the license, but there is. So record your mileage from the get-go and you'll be much happier. Now, you do have to take a behind-the-wheel course, or rather your teen driver does. This is all information for under 18s, by the way. Over 18 is a little bit different and less stringent. So our options as homeschoolers are take it at a private driving school, which is expensive, but it's also comprehensive. I mean, some people don't mind that. They want to take the driver's ed and behind the wheel and take the test right there. That's fine. I wanted to save all the money I could, so I went and found an affordable online approved driver's course. There is a page at the DMV that lists all the courses that are approved, and you just get to pick one. I will put links below, by the way, that will have all the links I can think of that will be helpful to you for all the forms and all of the information pages, okay? The driving schools are not all created equal, the online courses. The first one that I tried to check out was really bad. It was over $100, and then the interface was terrible, and they said, there was this whole convoluted registration process, and then they said, well, when you're done with that, go to PayPal, and PayPal this email address, so and so much money. And I thought, if they can't figure out a payment processing page, I don't want to do it. So I picked a different one. There are courses that run from, I think, $55. This is 2024, so $55 and up through maybe past $100. But all driving courses, no matter which one you take, are going to require you to prove that your child is homeschooled. So you want to have a copy of the letter that you got from the school superintendent's office in the previous year. And they will check on that, and then there'll be a few days processing your child's registration so that they can, ensure that you are homeschooled. Okay. All driving courses also are going to be 30 hours of classroom time. Now, what that means for an online course is that they are usually going to have timed screens. So even if your child is done reading the information on that screen, the timer is just going to run and run and run, because that's classroom hours. I know it doesn't make sense, but that's bureaucracy. So encourage your child to bring a handicraft or something while they're doing driver's ed. At the end, they're going to give your child a certificate of completion, which you do want to print out. Actually, some of the driving schools will want to mail it to you instead of emailing it to you. And, just note that for yourself before you sign up for a particular one to read, are you going to want the instant printable certificate, etc. Okay, So that certificate is something that you are going to want to bring to the DMV for the final road test. That's important. And the parent also has to take a 90-minute parent portion of the course at the end when your child is done. And I also got a certificate for that when I completed that. And you bring both of those to the DMV. Okay, that's it for driver's ed. But now behind the wheel. So when I was wanting to enroll my child in driver's ed, I thought, man, she can do driver's ed at the local high school. We're taxpayers, right? So I called them and they said, no, she can't do that. She's welcome to come back for behind the wheel though. So I thought, well, okay, better than nothing. Did that driver's ed online, and then when it was time for behind the wheel, I called them back and they said, sure, enroll, and make sure you bring your $200 some odd. It's like, wait, I didn't know that everybody has to pay a great amount of money for behind the wheel, except homeschoolers. We are authorized to be our homeschooled child's behind the wheel teacher. So I have a lot of children, need to save that money. And I applied to be my child's behind the wheel teacher instead of sending her to the public school. So what you need to do is fill out a form called Parental Authorization Application. It's HS1. Link will be below again. And, they take your license, number, etc. And you send it off to this address in Richmond. It's at the top of the paper. Okay. When I did it, I filled out 2 of the applications because I was hoping that my husband could also be an authorized behind the wheel teacher so that I didn't have to do everything myself. But they only sent me back approval for me. And it's nothing to do with my husband's driving record. That's fine. But I believe they just want one behind the wheel teacher and keep it streamlined, I guess. But once it should take about 10 days to get your approval letter back in the mail if there's nothing egregiously wrong. And on that approval letter, they're going to give you links to the behind the wheel course that they want you to use. Now, not links, URLs. It's a paper. So the first one, the only approved homeschool behind the wheel course, is called Module 11. Oh, Nelly, I don't know what to tell you about Module 11. I don't know who wrote this thing. It's terrible. It is so hard to figure out. It's so hard to understand. And it had me freaking out, really, because I couldn't understand how to grade, what even to set up. It's a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad thing. And I want to talk to the person who wrote this and thought it was a good idea. So I was in such distress that I was going to have to bring Module 11, which I printed off, into the final appointment at the DMV and show that we filled it out and show that we did it. But I couldn't figure it out. And I talked to a friend of mine who has taught behind the wheel at a school, and she also couldn't figure it out. So I just gave that up and did my best with the other things. I taught my child behind the wheel, just with experience. But there is a helpful parent-teen driving guide, which I encourage you to download. Again, links will be below, but they also give that URL on the homeschooler information sheet. That's HS3. It has the URL for the parent-teen driving guide. And that is a really helpful booklet. I will show it to you. It looks like this. You can print it off again. And this one is not confusing. It is clear, sequential. You know how to check off if your child did the things. And I don't know why this doesn't count as a behind the wheel course and the other one does. Don't ask me, it's government. So do that, and at the back of this is also a printable driving log. Did I mention that? There's a driving log there with mileage. It's a column for mileage is included. It's wonderful. Make sure to fill out that mileage. Okay. If you've already started your driving log, you can just transfer the information to this at the end. Right. So regarding behind the wheel, the requirements for behind the wheel are that you practice behind the wheel skills using CSMA 19. This is a sheet that looks like this. It's an in-car maneuvers observation record, and they will have they'll have the skills that they want you to teach, and you sign off on each one. You're going to bring that to the DMV at the end. So do CSMA 19. Another requirement for behind the wheel is that your child does 7 periods of 50 minutes each of driving, and it says at least 50 miles in parentheses. But when I called the DMV and said, is that 50 miles total or 50 miles each time, she didn't know. So I don't think anybody really checks that little section. But your child also, during behind the wheel, has to do 7 periods of 50 minutes each of observation. Okay? So make sure that you record your child's periods of observation and your child's periods of driving. And, you know, the 45 hours of driving practice is apparently in addition to that. So I made a driving maneuvers observation log on Canva, and I will provide a link for you to download that PDF if you want it. And that's it for behind the wheel. So they will ask you at the DMV to sign that you did Module 11. No one can do Module 11. It's a beast. But once you get to the DMV with your driving log, with your driver's ed completion certificates, and with your permit and everything, you fill out a driver's license application. You can also get that online and print that out and bring it with you, or just fill it out there or fill it out online. I think you can do that now too. When you get there, they are going to say, we don't give road tests to minors, and you will say, yes you do. This child is homeschooled. So sometimes you have to tell the people what they do and do not do. So homeschoolers are allowed to take a road test before the age of 18. Then you will fill out there this HS2 form. It's blue, and it's going to have that place for miles driven. So it doesn't have a place to record the hours that your child drove, that you so painstakingly made sure they did 45 hours. No, it will have a place that says total driving periods. So you need to total up the amount of practice and total observation periods. Now, when that's all done, your child takes the road test and gets their picture taken, and then a few days later, the license comes in the mail if they passed. It's said on the paperwork that your child has to have a date with a judge, a court date or something, to receive their license before a judge. But that did not happen. I don't know if that's old information or if it never was the case. But either way, the license does come in the mail. There's no judge thing. So that's all for the under 18 crowd. Important information. You can get your permit in Virginia when you are 15 and a half, but you have to hold it for 9 months. So you have to be 16 and 3 months before you can get the license. That's the earliest, youngest possible age. For over 18, there are different requirements. You don't actually have to take a driver's ed course. You don't really have to take behind the wheel. You do have to still fill out this. You have to take a written test. You have to hold a permit for 60 days, and they don't have to take driver's ed. All right, there is information for the over 18 crowd at the DMV site as well, which I will link. But that was for the under 18s, and all that is all. Happy driving and happy teaching.